Hi, I'm Magda from the Wnętrza channel. In this episode, I'll show you a 78 square meter family apartment that the owners have been adapting to their needs for over a decade, carrying out all the projects themselves. There will be plenty of interesting solutions here, so be sure to watch until the end.
Hi, my name is Magda and this is my husband Kuba. We live here together with our 2 children and 2 cats. We bought this apartment 12 years ago and moved in with just 1 mattress. And since then we've been adapting it to our needs, which basically never ends because there's always a new idea.
We've never let any specialist in here and we do everything ourselves.
We always start at the entrance, and here we have the hallway, which is kind of a nook in a long corridor leading to different rooms. On this side there's a large custom-made wardrobe, and interestingly, it was made from parts of a wardrobe that my friend was dismantling. The furniture panels were reused, cut and trimmed in such a way that ready-made drawers could be added here without the need to make custom drawers. Since you're already making a wardrobe and cutting everything, you can measure it in such a way to use ready-made drawers. And so the old elements combined with the new ones created this piece of furniture tailored to the needs. Also notice the doors, there are 3 of them, not 2. Although here, with this width, 2 doors would be enough, but 3 are simply more convenient because you can easily slide them a bit further. There is often a problem with wardrobes that have sliding doors and drawers, where you really have to make sure to slide the front all the way to the end so the drawer can open. Here you can easily push the fronts and there's plenty of space, so you don't have to be so precise about it. Let's look at it from that perspective. It's more convenient, and the sliding doors themselves made it possible to use this part of the hallway as well. A large chest was placed here, where you can also store various things, but you can also sit on it. And of course, it would be possible to make hinged doors divided so they would open above the chest, but it's definitely simpler with sliding ones. And here, on the wall, there's still more. A large mirror, which of course does what? It visually enlarges this space. Now we're moving on, and here is the daughter's room, and here is the son's room. We'll take a look at them later. Next, we have the bathroom, and on the wall, a family gallery, mainly photos from various fantastic trips. Here is a storage room at the end of the hallway, the bedroom, and here we have an open passage to the living room with the kitchen being behind the wall. In the living room, there's also a kitchen area. However, I feel that the main role is played by the table, which stands in the central spot and is really big. It is 2 meters long and it can be extended to 3 meters, so you can really host quite a lot of people here. And what's important, it's a wooden table, so from time to time you can sand it, oil it, or varnish it again, just to refresh it. And unfortunately, furniture made from particle boards or veneered furniture doesn't give us as many options as solid wood furniture, which can be refreshed this way multiple times. In the lounge area, there's a large sofa, a swing, and next to it, a bookshelf. On the opposite side, there are also books, and instead of a TV, there's a screen. There are plenty of plants in the apartment, including here on the windowsill behind the sofa. Unfortunately, the cats also took a liking to this spot, and when they wanted to lie down between the flower pots, they would simply knock them over. That's why there's a box here now, specifically for the cats, like a flower pot, but for a cat. And since cats really like to sit in boxes like this, they happily come in here and no longer try to lie down among the flower pots. They know this is their place. On the wall is a small shelf with a woven pattern. The little shelf was bought simply because it matched the chairs, and together they really make a very nice set. But what's important, and why I'm mentioning this, is that there's a chess set on the shelf, and ever since they've been out here easily accessible, the kids reach for them more often and play more frequently. And that's exactly how it is with the way we decorate our interiors. It can actually shape our habits and our lifestyle a little bit. If we stuff our workout set in the highest part of the closet, hard to reach behind a suitcase, the chances that we'll use it every day are rather small. And of course, that's a very extreme example, because if someone uses something every day, they're probably not going to shove it that deep. But often, various subtler issues have a big impact on our lives. For example, vacuuming. If we have a vacuum cleaner that's disassembled, stored in a closet with a short cord, and every time we vacuum we have to assemble it first, then plug it into different parts of the apartment, and finally disassemble it again, then the chance that we'll want to vacuum often and willingly is smaller than if the vacuum cleaner was actually at hand, easily accessible, so you just grab it and start vacuuming right away, right? These are the little things. But it's worth keeping them in mind when planning your apartment, and also thinking about what makes things difficult for you. For some people, the difficulty will be preparing meals on time, regularly by themselves. For others, it's cleaning, not leaving things out, proper organization, and setting up the kitchen properly. These things can all make it easier for us to change the habits we want to work on.
Sports are very important in our lives. I practice martial arts, and my husband does long-distance running. And here behind me, you can see some of the medals I've managed to win at the Polish Championships and other similar events, competing in Kung Fu tournaments.
Here inside there are custom-made shelves. And look, even though the shelves are deep, the books are placed at the front. They're not pushed all the way back. This way they look much nicer, and the arrangement is clearly well thought out. There are books standing in columns, as well as books arranged side by side. They mix different series. Here are Witcher books, here are guidebooks, here are green ones, and here interior design books. You can see there's an idea behind this shelf. And right away I can tell you that both Asteroid, Połkotapczan, Futerał, and Polski Design, you can buy these books in our store at wnętrzazewnętrza.pl. I highly recommend them to you. And now I'll also recommend you a non-interior design book, because here is Magda's book debut. Magdalena Ciechanowska, Księżycowa Zagadka. The first book, and soon there will be a second one as well. It's possible that by the time this is published it's already out, so I'll leave you the links in the description. It's a contemporary novel with a crime plot, so if you like that kind of literature you should definitely check it out. And I really admire her, because working a full-time job, having 2 kids and doing sports, finding time to write a book is not an easy thing to do. So you really need a lot of self-discipline, so honestly I have a lot of respect for such consistent pursuit of your passions. There's also an exit to the balcony in the living room, and the balcony is really long because it stretches from the end of the wall all the way to the kitchen, and there is also a second balcony door there. In old apartment blocks, you sometimes find long balconies, occasionally stretching the entire length of the apartment. Here, it's not quite that long, but those balconies are very narrow, so if someone sits on a chair, it's already hard to walk past them. And here, in that regard, it's much more practical. As you can see, there's even enough space for a table with 2 chairs, so on nice days you can have breakfast outdoors. And in the background behind me there are lots and lots of plants and even trees. They've been here for several seasons already, so as you can see it's possible to have a real garden on a balcony. Tkushu, sweetie, oh how you're rubbing against me. There are herbs, tomatoes, peppers, all sorts of things that you can also use in the kitchen. In the passage to the kitchen, there will be a low shelf with glass fronts, which serves as a display case for a collection of ceramics and glassware. There are various cups brought from the Bieszczady Mountains, as well as different series related to the Moomins. The Moomins are one of Magda's passions, and it's definitely visible. They appear in different places around the apartment. I've already seen books, and here there are mugs, colored glass tumblers, and beautiful plates. Really wonderful collections. There are also Moomins in the kitchen. They're here both in a frame and on the fridge as magnets, all neatly arranged. And you probably noticed that the fridge is blue, which really reminds me of the Moomins as well. And even the built-in microwave is colorful. Have you ever seen home appliances in a color like that? Because I haven't. And it's no wonder, because that's not the original color. The microwave was silver. The fridge was white and they were simply repainted with metal paint, and now they look fantastic. And I hope that soon home appliance manufacturers will offer us a much wider selection when it comes to the colors of such equipment. Because colorful fridges are one thing, but microwaves, ovens, induction cooktops, here there's still a lot of room to play around with colors. When it comes to organizing the kitchen, in the peninsula we have an oven with narrow cabinets on the sides. Here are drawers, a drawer with a cabinet, corner cabinet, drawer with baskets, dishwasher, and at the end more drawers again, so there's quite a lot of storage space, especially since there are also upper cabinets, but there's a lot of cooking done here. So in fact the kitchen was designed to be above all practical. And when it comes to a practical solution that I really liked, but I'm sure there will be many of you who will be critical of it, it's a bin for dirty dishes. Even though there's a dishwasher next to it, I'm not a fan of putting in single items myself. Because first of all, every time you have to open that big heavy door. Pull out the rack, put it in, push the rack back in, close the door. Contrary to appearances, it's actually not that quick. With a cup, it's okay, because you can just open the door a little and put it on the top shelf without pulling it out. But with plates or bigger things, it's not that easy. And of course, at some point, the space near the front is already taken, so you have to reach further in. So this quick method doesn't always work either. But the worst part is, it's that dirty dishes in the dishwasher start to smell terrible after a while, much worse than when they're left out to dry. And sometimes you can leave the dishwasher open just to let it air out, but even if it's slightly open, it usually still smells terrible inside. And I'm very sensitive to smells. And honestly, after a few hours when I have to put in more dishes, seriously, I won't go into details, but it's just disgusting. I really don't like it. That's why I just leave the dishes in the sink. And I know some people think it's really gross, but between the two, I definitely prefer this solution. And when there's not much space left, that's when I open the dishwasher. I open it once, then pull out the racks. I put everything in, close it, and there's no more opening and closing the dishwasher door all the time. If it's not full, well, after some time I just fill it up before starting it. But very often I load things from the sink after cooking when I still have some pots or plates from lunch on the counter. And when the dishwasher is about 40 or 50% full, it's ready to be turned on. So I avoid that worst moment when it starts to smell bad in there. If I can put it delicately, here's the trick with the basket that keeps the sink from getting full. The sink stays empty all the time. There's no problem using it. It's easy to put a pot in to pour something. Visually, it also looks much tidier, because we can see the sink better than the basket, which is higher up here. The side of the basket hides the things inside better. You have to admit, you can't really see if there are any things inside or not. From this perspective, standing close, I can see something in there, but not everything. And when the basket gets full, then its contents are moved into the dishwasher. And it's much quicker to put something here than to open the dishwasher, rummage around inside, you know how it is. So for me, it's a brilliant idea. And I'm starting to consider whether I should do something similar at my place. But for now, I'm sharing this with you, and you can decide for yourselves what you think about it. The peninsula stands out for its exceptional depth, because it's as deep as 2 kitchen countertops. So if each of them is probably about 62 centimeters, then here we have about 120 centimeters in depth. So it's possible that it's even deeper than it is wide, but I can't tell you for sure right now because I don't have a measuring tape with me. But here's what's crucial. That wasn't the original plan. The second countertop was supposed to be cut. But it was only during the installation stage that it turned out such a large countertop could actually be really cool, and that's how it stayed. And thank goodness, because then the pandemic hit. The need to work remotely, and it turned out that this place is actually great for working. And it's so great for working that even though the pandemic is behind us, this workspace has remained. And that's how a breakfast counter in the kitchen turned into a home office. And a home office in the kitchen might seem totally unexpected. But remember that during the day, when parents are working and the kids are at school or kindergarten, nothing is happening in the kitchen. Everyone is at their own computer. And in no way does the presence of the kitchen cabinets nearby get in the way. There's a decoration made of Lego cars on the wall. They're attached to special blocks that were printed on a 3D printer. They look like Lego, but inside they have a hole in the middle, and you can just attach the cars to them. It looks really cool. And below, we have another low cabinet with doors, just like the one I showed you a moment ago at the entrance to the kitchen. Only that one had glass fronts like a display cabinet. Here the fronts are solid, and look at how perfectly organized it is here. The boxes are labeled. It looks very nice. I hope it's practical as well. And here behind me, there's a fern in the upper box. And the lower box is hung here for the cats. Now I invite you into the bedroom, although right at the entrance your attention might be drawn to various devices. Because, for example, I didn't even know that myself, but it's used for hitting. Above there's a pull-up bar, of course, and here up close there's also a swing hanging from it. In the bedroom, of course, the main role is played by the bed, which is currently occupied by the cats, but you'll also find more sports equipment here, although they don't stand out at all. Look, for example, here behind the curtain, there are weights.
Here's my desk where I work every day. I spend a lot of time here, so it was important to me that it was tailored to my needs. That's why there are some elements here that might be unusual. For example, in this regular desk, there's a special cutout so the curtain can fit nicely. There's a cutout here where you can hide a cable. It goes down the back here. There are no legs, so I have a lot of space for my legs. The drawers pull out all the way. This is my dream desk, customized for me, and it's great to work at. And quite recently we made a dresser to match, which is stylistically inspired by the desk. This is a little corner where I spend a lot of time during my workday. But after work I can use the workout wall, which was created sometime during the pandemic when it wasn't possible to go to the gym. Generally there's quite a lot of sports equipment hidden around the house. I think this was probably the first place where we started doing something like that. And here we use the tool hanging system, which works really well. And when we want to hide this equipment, we just need to open the door.
Making furniture by yourself is not such an easy thing to do. You really need a lot of skill to fit everything together nicely and to make it look good. So even though it might seem that by doing something yourself custom-made you have unlimited possibilities, in reality you're limited by your own skills, which usually, especially at the beginning, aren't very advanced if you're just doing it as a hobby. But here it really turned out great. Look, both the desk and the dresser have these rounded edges. It's not that easy to do at all. Either you need to have the right tools or you have to spend a lot of time and care on it. However, the result is really worth the effort. Because when you touch such a nicely rounded edge, it's simply a pleasure. And those sharp edges, when we rest our hand on them, dig into our skin, and even though it might not hurt at first, over time it can start to feel uncomfortable. Ready-made furniture is rarely so rounded because it requires more work, it's more expensive, and not every material is suitable for this kind of processing. Podobnie jest z szufladami. Look how far this tiny drawer slides out. Even though it's very narrow, it actually slides out all the way, making full use of the desk's depth. And when we buy ready-made desks, such smaller drawers are usually also very short and hold much less. And why is that? Because such a long drawer slide is simply more expensive. And as we know, unless manufacturers are making super high-end premium furniture, they have to optimize costs. The wardrobe is an exception in this room because it was bought. It's a modular wardrobe, so it just needed to be assembled. However, the bed was also made from scratch, just like the desk and the dresser. And interestingly, to make this bed, a wardrobe that used to be in this room was repurposed. And that's interesting in itself because this is a previously owned apartment. It was suitable for living in, but over the past dozen or so years, it has gone through so many changes that now, as far as I know, from the old furnishings, only the floor and the walls in the storage room remain. And originally, there was a wardrobe in this spot, and the bed was in the middle of the bedroom, so there was only space in front of the wardrobe, between the wardrobe and the bed, to get changed. And around it there was space to walk around the bed. When the bed was placed here in the alcove, yes, you can only access it from one side, but thanks to that, we managed to make space not only for a wardrobe, but also for a workspace. So it's always a trade-off, but in small apartments you have to look for those extra spaces, so this solution really does seem optimal. And here, both the headboard and the entire piece of furniture were made.
Samodzielnie pod
Under the mattress, there's space for storing various things, and here there are also two drawers that serve as a space for items you want to have handy in bed. So they're like nightstands, just in the form of drawers, and interestingly, they were made using IKEA kitchen drawers as a base. Of course, just the drawer and the runner are from IKEA, but different fronts were installed here. It's a really cool idea. It's worth using ready-made solutions to make your work easier. And now we're already on the opposite side of the hallway, and I invite you into my daughter's room. As you probably remember, the whole apartment is 78 square meters, and besides the living room with the kitchen, there are also 3 bedrooms here. So it's not like these rooms can be very spacious, and to make better use of their space, the bed was built up high. It's a handmade loft bed, welded so that those metal elements aren't visible. They're covered with fabric just to make it cozier here rather than industrial looking, and the whole bed was simply suspended. It's attached to the walls, here also to the ceiling, and thanks to that, there are no legs under the bed that could limit the space below, both in terms of functionality and visually. We have an open space, and it seems like there's more room here than if the bed were on the floor and took up, well, maybe saying half the room would be an exaggeration, but you know how it is with beds. They just take up a huge amount of floor space, and once you put them in a room, the room immediately feels much smaller. When we hang it up and have a lot of space on the floor here, it definitely feels more spacious. And at the bottom, there's a little sofa, which on one hand takes up less space than a bed would, and on the other hand, it's more comfortable to spend time on it during the day. You can sit here comfortably and lean back, spend time with your friends, and you can also invite your friends for a sleepover, because the little sofa can be unfolded to create sleeping spaces. And look, you get onto the bed using a climbing ladder. There are also various additional elements here that you can hang from. So the spirit of physical activity is really strong here, not only in the parents' area, but also for the children. And on the opposite side of the room, there's a wardrobe, a shelf with many drawers, and a desk. After all, our daughter is already going to school, and the desk is useful not only for studying, but also for developing her various passions. There's also a desk in our son's room, even though he's younger and only goes to kindergarten. Because this kind of furniture can be used earlier as well, not just for studying, but also for drawing, reading, or building with blocks. It's simply comfortable to sit at a desk to do different things. What's more, I've come across studies that indicated that when children had desks in their rooms even earlier, during preschool years, they learned to write faster, and when they had books out in the open, they read more often. I'm not sure what the exact influence is here. Do desks really encourage children to start learning to write earlier and practice more? Or is it simply that parents who start teaching their children sooner also buy desks earlier? However, remember, it's not about making children learn as quickly as possible. That's not the point at all. Let's not put pressure on the little ones because they'll have plenty of time to learn everything. No worries. It's more about giving them the opportunity for comprehensive learning and spending time in different ways, allowing for well-rounded development, because that expands their abilities and influences brain development. So if we can motivate children to try different things that can help them grow, let's just encourage them, give them a chance, but don't force them. Remember that. On this wall, there's a wardrobe with shelves and drawers at the bottom. It's a very practical piece of furniture. It's rare to find something this comfortable. Usually there are only a few hidden drawers, but here there are many, and they're separate. Now they're accessible, which is much more convenient, and right here next to it is a play kitchen, and it's one we found. Someone got rid of it, threw it away, but it's definitely still usable. It was missing a faucet, so one was 3D printed and now the little piece of furniture is in use. Remember, don't just throw things like that away so eagerly. Post a listing on Facebook or OLX saying you have something to give away. Someone will probably contact you and come pick it up, because if no one notices that you're getting rid of it, those bulk garbage trucks are terrible. They just crush those things, destroy them, and it's really not a nice sight, and it's not good for the environment or for us. If we can give things a second life, let's do it. Even if it takes a little work, it's really worth it. A really nice solution, which parents of small children will probably be more eager to use, are under-bed drawers that aren't on rails but have their own wheels, so you can roll them even to the other side of the room. Look, they're not permanently attached to the bed, and here we basically have a big toy box. Here we have building blocks, and it's very convenient because since they're spread out over a large area, it's easy to find them. You don't have to pour them out of smaller boxes when it's time to play. You can just play right away using this box, this drawer. Actually, even finished things like a completed car can be put here. You can also use the second drawer because it's a play space too, and you can put away whatever you're playing with there. Then, when it's time to go to bed, you just need to slide the drawer back in. And there are no blocks left out. Of course, in practice it also depends on the child, but I expect that some blocks will still be taken out of the drawer. But you know, when you take out individual blocks instead of dumping everything out, it's much easier to clean up afterwards. We also made the bathroom furniture ourselves, and not just the furniture. Because here, near the drawers, there was a problem with the drain, since the drawer was interfering a bit with the pipes. So what did we do? A new pipe was printed on a 3D printer, and now as you can see, everything fits perfectly and there's no problem pulling the drawer all the way out.
The biggest challenge in our apartment renovation was the bathroom. An interesting thing I want to mention here is the shower, because as you can see, it's completely enclosed. There's very thick waterproofing in there, even on the ceiling. This is because we turned it into a steam room, and the whole control panel for it is here.
Above the bathtub, there's simply a print hanging in a frame, which is quite unusual. It looks very nice, and combined with the wood that's in this bathroom, it creates a really soothing forest feel. And what's important, even though it's paper, it doesn't get damaged at all. It's been here for 5 years, and as you can see, it's still in good condition. Maybe it's a little wavy, but apparently the waviness appeared when the poster was being attached with double-sided tape inside the frame. So it's not related to moisture. Above the bathtub, there's a poster hanging in a frame, which is unusual. It's a print on paper, and even though it's above the bathtub in the bathroom, where there's a lot of moisture, it's been here for 5 years and nothing bad has happened to it. And it's because there's very good ventilation here. Nie w każdej łazience. It will work the same way. And this poster combined with the wood gives this bathroom a really relaxing atmosphere and makes you think of the forest. And there's even wood on the ceiling here. And while you're looking up, take a look at this fan, which works in both directions. It faces both the shower cabin and the bathroom, and it blows air out of the shower cabin. And you can also close it so that the steam doesn't escape when you're using the sauna. And on this side, above the poster, there's a decorative grill attached with magnets. It dims gently. This effect looks a bit better in person than what you see here, so you'll just have to trust me. And if I hold it a second time, it brightens up. It's the same with the other light under the shower. It's arranged differently there. It's not covered with a frosted panel like the one above the sink. There are just a few LED strips that evenly light up the whole cabin. And the cabin has a comfortable seat here, which is especially important for using the sauna. Of course, it can also be useful when taking regular baths. The storage compartment serves many functions at the same time. Look, there's a laundry room and a drying room here because there are rods hanging from the ceiling that you can lower. These are the same ones you hang over the bathtub, only here they're in the storage compartment. The ventilation is good because the original plan was to have a second bathroom here, so there's also a ventilation shaft built in. And what's more, the ventilation here is now brought down low to effectively remove odors from the litter box. At the moment I turned it off with a button, but it's usually on all the time here. There's a little fan that extracts the odors, so this space can serve different purposes without any problem. And of course the litter box can have some odors, so this little fan definitely helps. What's more, there's also a regular printer here and a 3D printer, which has already been mentioned several times in the video and comes in handy for various new projects. And there's also a pantry and a storage room for various extra things, including folding chairs, which come in handy for bigger occasions when the table is extended and more guests come over. And the door handle to the storage room is a knob, so that small children can't open it. That's all for this time. There were a lot of interesting solutions in this video, so let me know in the comments which ones you liked the most and which ones could work in your own homes. I also hope you'll give a thumbs up. I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, and I invite you to visit our store at unentrasevnenja.pl. And this time I'm saying goodbye. Bye.
Hi. Hey, do you want to be petted? Oh, hi. Good morning. Good morning. Will you come back to me? Yes, you will come back. Good morning, kitty.